Hi. So a lot of people would like to have this paranormal or something like a meeting with an aliens, just a conversation, just like talk to them, like, hey, they want that first-hand experience. A lot of people also end up going to the desert and all these meetings where they just do stuff and try to get some contact with aliens. And if they're lucky, they're gonna see a weird light in the sky, and that's where it ends. And they don't really get the physical face-to-face contact. But it's actually pretty easy to those that know how to consciousness shift, get out of body, remote view, and all the stuff. But the thing is, everyone can do it. You don't have to be special or somebody. You can be anybody, and you can do that too. So I would like to share the way I do it, and maybe if you follow the steps, you can try it out, see how it works. But the most important part is to start by empowering yourself. What I mean is, a lot of people want to have that encounter. They would like to speak to aliens and ETs. And at the same time, if you're not prepped for it, it can sort of scare you. Like, people have their own fears. And how would you react if all of a sudden you're just sitting watching my video and all of a sudden some face pops up right in front of you? If you could just tune into the reality, if your visuals would open up and you would see beyond the physical world, and all these entities and the beings that are not really in your world right now, if they're there, the confrontation is pretty hard for a lot of people. So with that in mind, you want a little exercise, you want a little practice to feel comfortable with it so that you could confront these beings better later in the future. And we start that with, okay, let's have a positive experience first. Instead of reptilians and greys and someone that's kind of like, I don't know how to handle that, let's talk to your soul family, for example. And soul family, well, who the fuck is that? You can't really pinpoint just one. But I mean, you have lived for so long that for you to have only one family is impossible. You have been having billions of lives. And with that, where you were with Pleiadians and Lyrans and maybe Trusians and like Taigetans before coming here on Earth, and while you were in the physical universe, before that, you might have had quintillions of other families, other experiences. And with that, there are some groups of people that you just have more relations to. You really like them. You feel like, oh wow, I just love being with them. We're same mind, same thoughts, same feelings, and kind of just like really good connection. You feel like at home, and that's great. But there's more than one group that will give you that. So when you think about your soul family, you have to define to yourself, what would that soul family be and mean to you? As in, let's say when I think about what my soul family would be like, if I wouldn't know, I would at least go with, well, that's someone I can totally relate to. Someone that for me, personally, can understand me. I would not have to talk and express myself in tons of ways. They would just look at me, be in my space, and they would know stuff. They would pick up on those things. It's like telepathically they can read you and not kind of like be intrusive where they access your stuff and, okay, I'm just gonna sort of access all your cache crackers and know shit about you. It's more like they connect to you and they understand. And that level for me is like, oh boy, I miss that. I always get this thing on Earth. There's like two people that managed to connect to me on that deep level where I did not have to talk, but they expressed how I felt and how I was thinking, like what I was thinking, what I was focusing on and everything else. It was just like, it takes a few minutes for them to just describe the situation. And I get all like in tears and everything, because for me, it's like, oh my God, someone understands and I don't have to say a word. And it just means so much to me. So in those worlds, if that was my soul family, they would know me. They would be on a deep level for me. For you, maybe something else that you have as a value, something that means a lot to you. Maybe that sort of unconditional love. The one that, like has no triggers, has no issues, has no weird, difficult past, but more like, oh wow, whenever I'm with that being or around them, it's just so liberating. you feel appreciated, you feel the gratitude. So when you think about your soul family, what would you feel like if you were in their space? What would you like it to be? And you just describe that perfect moment for yourself because you know what it is like. You've experienced it before. And whilst you might not remember it right now, by defining it is what you're connecting to. You're connecting to the group of people that you want to be with. And that says it all. So let's say for me, with beings that I don't have to express myself, they would know it. That unconditional love goes on the list as well. It's just like I know my place, the beings I'm with, and it's just so comfortable to be in that space, to just be, not necessarily be something, but just be in that moment. And for us, the perception is everything, like the feeling, seeing, and all the stuff. It's a lot. And then at the same time, intelligence. I love that so much. Just when I can learn, when they know a lot and I'm in their space and like shower me with whatever, like I just like want to hear it all and, like understand more or listen to that and like open my eyes, give me new stuff. Like I just love getting that stuff. So, for me, that would be my perspective. You describe what would these beings or that being mean to you? How would they make you feel? You don't have to imagine their look specifically, just the beingness, empowering, freeing. They're sympathizing with you, they're understanding, they're non-judgmental, they make you feel safe, they acknowledge you, they're great huggers, maybe, like whatever you feel. If I had a perfect family here, what would they be like? What would I feel like around them? So when you have that sort of perfection defined to yourself, what would you love and appreciate and like? That's when you sort of like know, okay, this is my soul family. If I would have one, it would be this. The definition or like the personality that you give is what you actually know and have experienced before. And so this is like, okay, this is the being that I want to talk to. And this is the being that meets those standards. It's not going to be some weirdo. It's not going to be someone that doesn't fit the definition. As in, like they have few of those, but all of a sudden they're like, maybe narcissistic, maybe they're into lying, maybe they're like not trustworthy and all the stuff. So with all of these, when you have your perfection, like we're not going to go into the don'ts and nots, and that being doesn't smoke, and that being doesn't drink alcohol, and they don't have whatever. We're not going into those details. It's like the feelings, the essence. How do they make you feel? And when you focus on that feeling, this is, for me personally, is the best way to connect to someone. Because if you would have a person here on earth that would die in another life, that consciousness that was in this body here, they would look different. They would not have the same body, which is, for me, looks are meaningless. It doesn't mean anything to me. If it works for you, great. But for me, is that how does that being make me feel? Because if I know the feeling state, no one else can match that except that being. No one else. They can't mimic it. You can't create it. There's going to be something missing. And you can pick it up. You can always pick it up. So for me, when I create that essence, it's like focus on the positive, the good. And that's where you're like, okay, that being. Someone that can completely understand me. I don't have to express myself. I don't have to talk. They have unconditional love. We have great connection and understanding between each other. There's like a lot of intelligence and wisdom and knowledge. So like I would just connect to like those like personality traits, the feeling, the essence. And I'm like, okay, when I'm doing this, and if I want to connect with that being, I would also like to be in more empowered state. And but I focus at the moments where, let's say you might have watched a TV, you might have watched a movie, TV show, anime, you've read a book or something, or maybe you're just yourself, right? Because I've had issues in my life, I do have figures that I look up to or like admire. So for me, it's that go-to place where if I want that being is that I might not have here, I focus on that being that I know or have seen that has a personality trait. So for me, because in my childhood, I've been going through a lot of hard stuff, but I've been watching anime. I grew up with characters that had the strengths and personality traits and abilities that I wanted to have. I wanted that, like, oh my God, they're so brave. And no matter how hard it is for them, they're still going through it. So I would connect that being like, yeah, I kind of want to be like that. You don't have to become that, but just sort of like imagine as if you have that ability. Maybe you're Iron Man, maybe you're Spider-Man, maybe you're something else. But that, like, if I was for a moment with that character trait, and allow yourself that just that energy to fill you up. Like, yeah, the courageousness, the knowing, the possibility to take action and manifest whatever I want and whatever your sort of like divine inner self be, whatever you would like to feel, that would be empowering and feeling good to you. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all, but just for that moment, like for me, I like, if you have ever seen Dragon Ball, there's this character Vegeta, and I just really like the guy. Like, it's like, for me, like, it was the figure, like if my brother used to be Goku, I would be Vegeta, and we would constantly be fighting. But for me, Vegeta was giving me the strength with, no matter how hard it is, no one will ever understand that, but I will fight back and I'll be the best and I'll put as much as effort as possible and everything else. So for me, like, I've had a definition of how it feels like to be in that power place. And when I connect to the other aspects, when I try to consciousness shifts, when I talk to other ETs, if I, before doing that thing, get in the zone of, yeah, I'm powerful, I'm not going there with the energy of like, I don't know what's going to happen and how do I confront that stuff. Like, no, I'm going with, I can do this. Yeah, I'm powerful. I have the strong feeling. You don't have to beat anyone up, but just feeling that confidence where like, you're content. You have this just ability that I can do everything. If I have to, I will. I can manifest anything. It doesn't have to be for a long time, but for a few minutes while you're trying to connect to someone, being in that state gives the freedom. Because, you know, with a lot of beings here in this world, you might have sensed it. If people or animals sense your weakness, your fear, they will use it against you. They will try to be dominant. And they sense that you might not know things, you might not really be at the top. So it's their chance. It's their chance to show off how good they are, or, you know, like, hey, I'm going to squish you more, but at least I'm going to come out on top and people will appreciate me more because you don't know stuff and you look dumb in front of everyone. So they kind of push that weakness onto you. Whenever you're connecting with someone, and I'm specifically throwing it out there because, you know, some of you might have this what if. What if I try to connect to someone good and then there's this gray or reptilian popping out? When you're in that place where you're feeling content and strong, where you know that if you think about something and if you have an intention, you can manifest it. At that moment, no one can harm you in any possible way. They can try to scare you. They can try to have you perceive something and that perception will scare you. But that's as far as it goes. And getting out of body, consciousness shifting, remote moving, when I get into the place where it should be scary, I'm facing my fears, like I have this a bit of like arachnophobia, just mentioning that, I can feel it, I can sense it, I get in that place and it's creepy and I don't like it. But right now, face to face with a massive hairy spider with shit dripping out of his like mouth, and like I see it, I'm right in front of that being. And if I would not have gotten into that state, like I get goosebumps. It starts with there. I get a sense of death because it happened before, and there's a lot of things going on. But just getting that presence, like, yeah, like go at me, like whatever. But like you're ready. And that state is like no one can penetrate it. No one can mess with you. And you go out with that, you go out with, I can do everything. And that's it. That's all it takes. If you know that you are powerful, if you know that you can change things, and eventually, as a consciousness, as a godlike being, you can do everything, no one can use any of your weaknesses against you. They can't. Because even if they try to mind control you and get into your space and make, like, have you get any weird perceptions and stuff, it's not going to work because they know that you know. If a lot of beings, let's say reptilians, and I'm explaining a lot of things because, like, for some people it might be important. They might have a lot of questions and I just feel like talking about it. So sorry if it takes too much to get it put to the point, but let's say talking to reptilians, if you don't have experience, they can just mess with you. They can lie to your face. They can create this sinister sense of feeling. Like reptilians are like, they're fine. And then some of them might have this like aggravating, psychopathic, cold-hearted like sense. But if you meet some beings, it's pure evil. It's hard to describe that sense, but it's pure evil. And I've met that being. They don't really have a name, but the presence, when you're around them, it's just different. Like around like reptilian and stuff and grays, like they have a personality. Like, yeah, like a psychopath, a crazy person, like someone that doesn't give a shit, that's cold-hearted, yeah. And they're intelligent, cool. But there are beings that can create this presence that you're like, shit, I want to get out of here. It's like hard to confront, hard to face. You don't want to be there. It's overwhelming. It's like crushing. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just, some of you might have felt it at one time in your life. And it was just pure evil. It's worse than death. It's worse than dying. It's worse than any threats. It's just like really overwhelming sense. It's just gets to you. Like you just feel its presence, like, fuck, this is like cold, and you feel like, I don't know, like a deer in the headlights. You kind of freeze because of how overwhelming and bad it is. And those beings, having no experience with them, if you confront something like that for the first time, it's scary. You don't want to do that again. Like I've had some movies where I wasn't even trying, but I ended up on some weird places and I didn't even see the being. They didn't even come that close. It's just like wearing some kind of cloak and just coming at me. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, like whatever I was doing is just like stopped. I couldn't think of it. I couldn't focus on it. I couldn't use those abilities. And all of a sudden that presence came close. It wasn't even like, I don't know. They were still far away, but they were getting closer to me. I don't know, like 50 feet away, for example. And that just scared the shit out of me. And I just like pulled back into this physical body. I'm like, what the hell? Like, I don't even want to go out again. Like, it's just like, creepy. So that kind of presence, you have to prep for it. And I'm not saying everyone will need that and feel it and all this stuff, but you would not want it to be your first time encounter, because that's like, not doing that again. Like that was enough. So, prepping for that, where, like, if you are a powerful being, then by that I mean, like, yeah, here on Earth, it's really hard to grasp it because there's a lot of limitations. But if you're able to get out of body, there are no limits to your creativity. No, like you can escape, you can travel, you can create. And by that I mean, that presence that I felt that scared me back in the day, when I learned that, oh, I can turn them into something else. And that creepy ass pure evil thing, I was just able to flip the whole realm because I focused like, no, I'm in control. And no matter how evil you are, that's like sense where I knew my powers. And by that, I mean creativity. It's just creation. I can change everything at any time if I want to. So with that, this creepy setting, this pure evil feeling, the whole atmosphere that was coming at me, that was scaring me, going there the next time, knowing that I can change it, I just turned it into the most wonderful place. And that being that was coming at me just disappeared. And I was like, wow, it's so good. It works kind of the same way where you might be taking a walk late at night, and it takes just a few thoughts, or you're like even inside your own house. And you just, what if, and you imagine this one situation for a few seconds, and you creep yourself out because it was kind of real. It felt like it. So now you don't want to go to the bathroom. You have to have the light everywhere. Smallest noise will scare the shit out of you. And if you're not even in the house where you don't have control, run. Don't even look around. Just go fast and get to the point like, oh my God, why did I think of that? And you just head to some place. So with that, it's the same. When you meet those beings, the more you give in to their setting and their perception that they're giving you, the more you're creating that. If you know that, yeah, it's creepy, but at any point in time, I can focus my thoughts on something positive. Instead of creepy, someone's in my house, and what if this weird thing pops up and there's the sound and all the stuff? No, stop it. What if I feel amazing in my own house? And you can just switch the fantasy, you can just switch the thoughts, and the feelings that you will get will be whole different. So that's super important. Going back to communicating to that being, once you know the essence, and you know that your true power is creativity, like being content and knowing that you can create and change anything at any point in time, any way you want. That's what I call the godlike being. When you focus on that essence of like my soul family, what they make you feel like, just go with like, yeah, I know what I am. And think of a scenery like where you would like to talk to them, or it doesn't have to be like that. You don't even have to get to some place. Some people might want to feel like they would like to go someplace and meet that being. Others can just have a telepathic communication without going anywhere. So you don't have to get out of body. You don't have to, consciousness shift. You don't have to remote view and everything else. Just focus on the feeling. Like, how does your soul family member make you feel like? What do you feel around them? And also, you can create anything, anytime you want, anyhow you want, change anything and all that stuff. So like those feelings, what you have for yourself and what you like perceive as a being, who you want to talk to, you have it like sort of connection. It's like, okay, just give yourself maybe a minute. Visualize if you can. If you don't worry. Just think of like, okay, me and that being, we're connected. It's like two chords getting together. It's that tightness connection. It's like I just pick up a phone and call this being. It's sort of like put the intention, have a thought, like know the concept, and sort of allow this energy to connect with that being. And once you go, you just start talking. And specifically, like ask the question. Like you don't have expectations. Don't put pressure on that being, but more like, if whatever's important to you at that moment. For example, right now, if I was to talk to my soul family, I'd be like, hi, like this has been a long time since we've ever talked or met and anything, but I just want to let you know how precious you are to me. Because every time I think of, like being understood and being accepted and being loved, that I don't get here on earth on that level, it just means a lot to me. And, I really appreciate you guys. And right now, just saying that, as if like opening up that communication channel with the chosen being and expressing myself, whether you do it out loud or within your mind, however you choose to do it, it's up to you. Whatever feels comfortable. There are no rules. Do whatever feels good to you. That's the most important part. You don't have to follow me in every single thing I do and say. Just adjust it, whatever feels good to you. That's the important part. And then, so, hey, like you, my soul family, like, or the beings that I'm talking to right now, is there anything that I need to know? Or, yeah, like right now, is there anything I need to know? And once you ask the question, you will get the answer in lots of ways, or possibly. Some of you might have great audio, so, you can actually hear them talking to you. You can hear the voice. If you don't have that and would not like to have it, then just say like, and please, if we communicate, could you just give me the reply telepathically? So literally, you will not hear the voice, but it will just come in as your knowledge. You ask the question, and the question you've asked will arise in, let's say, even your own words in your own head. If you don't hear your own words and all the stuff, that's fine. It's just that knowledge. You ask the question and the knowingness. It's like all the answers are within the same place where you come up with the questions. That being, if here you're like thinking and focusing and expressing yourself, then the same answer will arise from the same place. A lot of beings, just on the same note, when we ask those questions and we need something in life, a lot of beings that we know they're good, they're trying to help us. And there are times where you feel inspired, where you go, aha, and you have this great idea, you want to do something, there's this eagerness in life, there's this opening of like, oh my God, and you just get on a new goal and you just get all excited. A lot of times there are beings who will turn it on for you. They will help you. They will try to have you focus on that stuff. And it's like they're putting that in your head, but it's a positive thing. That feeling, that excitement, that sort of redirection. If you were like looking for an answer, if you were lost, if you were stuck, if you had the writer's block and everything else, all of a sudden it just comes up. And it's like, oh my God, I came up with this thing. And a lot of times it's not coming up. It's just like you picked up on whatever was given to you. Not everything, but it's so easy for other beings to help us out that way. And we don't even know about it. We don't even consider that. So when you talk to your soul family, think of the questions that you care about. What is it that you need to know at this moment? Is there anything you need to remember? Is there anything you should know? And, like maybe humanity like should get it. And like whatever seems important to you, just ask that. Like, like what kind of thing would you like to receive? And literally, the most important part is just being curious. Like it's like literally having conversation. It might feel like a monologue, but take time, practice it. Practice talking to these beings, express yourself, express how you feel, and also ask for the answer. And you might feel it like right away. It might take a few minutes, or you might get it the same day, but there's just like sort of like allow that to happen. Don't force it, don't rush it, don't like, well, I asked a question, where's the fucking answer? And you're waiting, and no loud voices in your space. You don't like really have any thoughts coming up. That's fine. Because let's say the more you focus on, I'm not getting the answer, and you're getting kind of like frustrated or like this isn't working and stuff, that energy, it's like disconnection. Like you have a great internet connection and you connected, you communicated the message, and by not getting it, all this energy that you've had and how you were feeling is kind of like disturbance in the force, in the field, and all of a sudden you disconnect, you get yourself on a whole different line. So for you to get the answer back is now even harder, which is why, it's great if you can give yourself up to 5 minutes to just get in that feeling state and ask the question. Ask whatever's important to you. And maybe like, hey, where was I before coming here on Earth? What were we doing when I was with you guys? And you will just get the answer within yourself. That's how I do it. And that's how I get it. Like, that's how I choose to get it. Maybe some of you will be like, hey, well, if you want confirmations, choose how you will get it. Seeing numbers to you, give like specific number will mean yes, specific number will mean no. Wordings, the signs around you. Like some people, well, if I see one bird, it's a yes, and if I see two, it's a no. Whatever works for you. But you have to create those rules of how you're going to see stuff. And at the same time, I prefer to leave it in telepathic, because some other beings can sort of like influence the surroundings. So leave it personal, because once you open up to too much, you might not have as much control, and there are other beings who will try to like interfere and affect you. So anyway, it's a quickie, and maybe I should go deeper into doing my own communication and showing you the whole thing, but maybe later. I just feel like I talk too much and stuff. Anyway, if you watch this, I hope it was helpful. If you try to do that communication and you actually have a conversation and feel like sharing it, please do. Please do. Like a lot of people might actually be successful with it. And, hey, you might get some interesting answers or something that others need to know as well. So that being said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.